The Christmas spirit. What is it? I mean, is it a person? A thing? Is it animal, vegetable, or mineral? Where is it the rest of the year? What day does it start? You know, there are a million questions you could ask about this phenomenon we call Christmas spirit. In many parts of this country, Mother Nature helps get things off to a start with a blanket of white, setting the stage for a curry or knives, ice skating, and sleigh bells, Christmas to come. But here on the South Plains of Texas, the Christmas scenery usually consists of desolate, freshly stripped cotton stalks, and if we're lucky, a blue sky, although too often it's brown. But no matter the setting, the Christmas spirit seems to permeate the air. Now, a retailer might tell you that Christmas starts the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday, reportedly the biggest shopping day of the year. But I don't think that you could say because people are shopping for Christmas that is the Christmas spirit, as evidenced by many of their short tempers and bad attitudes. To me, the Christmas spirit is that something that will make a grown man who wouldn't be caught dead getting in touch with his sensitive side suddenly start humming a carol while walking down the aisle at the mall. That thing that makes an anonymous donor put precious gold pieces in the Salvation Army pot. Or even that thing that will cause a person to offer a Merry Christmas to a perfect stranger on the street. No one can put their finger on what it is, other than to say that it transforms from the intangible to the very tangible and very needed feeling of goodwill toward our fellow inhabitants of planet Earth at Christmas time. So if we can't exactly say what it is, then where does it come from? Who keeps the spirit of Christmas intact the rest of the year? Why doesn't it get lost like a business card given to you by a door-to-door salesman? I've known many of the people who were keepers of the Christmas spirit. In fact, I was lucky enough to know that my father was one of these persons. I often wondered if these keepers were members of a secret order, kind of like being a member of the Masons, Lions, or Elks, and so forth. Did these keepers have a secret handshake? What night of the week did they meet? And how did you get to be a member? Anyway, my dad was one who, in the words of Dickens, kept Christmas well. To support this belief about my father, I'd like to share with you a true story that took place in 1966, when I was 6 years old. Christmas Eve, 1966. Two brothers share a bedroom, and in their respective rooms are the rest of the family unit, an older sister and mom and dad. Now, one brother is 16, and of course I was 6. Now, I had no idea if my older brother was even asleep, but I was beginning to think that I would never be able to go to sleep. My mind churned with the thoughts of Santa Claus and his annual journey to our house. Did he get my letter? Was I good enough this year? I mean, how much of an offense was it when you try to get your brother in trouble? I mean, is that a Santa misdemeanor, or is it a felony worthy of a lump of coal rather than what I really dreamed of? But oh, if there were a Santa Claus, please bring me what I really wanted. I knew that my father had said there was no way we could get it this year. I remembered the first time I saw it. It was just after Thanksgiving. Mom and Dad and me in the car, driving to Western Auto to do a little shopping. I think to get a battery or something for the car, I can't really remember. We piled out at the store, and Dad said he'd go get what he needed, and I could look around in the toy aisle if I liked. So I checked out the toys, played with a cap gun or two, and was walking back toward the parts department when, up on a rack, hanging from the ceiling, omnipotently over the world, was the most beautiful thing I had ever beheld with 6-year-old eyes. Now, to say that I was looking at just another bicycle was to say that a Rolls-Royce was just another car. This was a vision of chrome and fire engine red. It was displayed with a bunch of other bikes, but it stuck out as if there were a spotlight on it. I'd never seen such wonderful lines. The way the headlight was shaped like a silver bullet. The red fenders were trimmed in chrome. The bar, you know, from the seat to the handlebars, the one that denoted it was a boy's bike, was not just a bar. It looked like the gas tank on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, large in front, sweeping down, tapering to the seat, aerodynamically. Why, it had speed written all over it. It looked like it was going 100 miles an hour just hanging there. I have no idea how long I stood and stared up at it with my mouth wide open, not even blinking. But it was long enough for my dad and Mom to finish shopping and have everybody in the store looking for me, yelling my name. I didn't even hear them until my dad's trademark whistle, which my older brother swore could wake the dead. My ethereal trance was broken and my hearing restored. "What are you doing?" Dad said. "Didn't you hear me? We were worried you'd been kidnapped." "Daddy, look at that bike." Is that what you were looking at? So you like that bike, huh? Oh, yes, sir. I've never seen a bike like that. Now, is that a hint for Christmas, son? Do you want a bike this year? Well, my tricycle's, kind of old, and I can ride Jim's bike okay with training wheels. Could I get a bike this year? Well, let me get somebody to get it down for us, and we'll take a look at it, see how much it is. Wow, Dad was going to get it down. I mean, down to the ground. I mean, where I was, the same level as us mere mortals. I was trying to play it cool, but I couldn't keep from doing that little kid excitement bounce up and down thing that is as involuntary as breathing until you're at least 7 years old. My world couldn't have been any better until the salesman showed Dad the price tag and said, at that price, it's the only one we'll get this year. Dad's eyes changed, and I stopped bouncing as he looked at me and said, I'm sorry, son, but this bike is just too expensive. It's $99. Well, it might as well have been $1 million. $99 in 1966 was a week's wages for a good job. And it was stupid to think that with 3 kids at home, Dad could spend a week's wages for just one of us. Okay, I said, as up and cheery as I could, but I could tell he knew I was crushed. Dad said, but maybe there's another bike that we could afford, and we can dress it up with streamers and a horn and a bell. And he stopped and said, I'm really sorry, son. As a father today, 28 years later, I know that look in his eyes. That look that says, why can't I give my kids what they really want just one time? This world is so unfair sometimes. Anyway, that was the longest ride home from the Western Auto ever. Total silence. And I never again said a word about that bike. But I couldn't quit thinking about it. It seemed like every waking moment was spent thinking that somehow I would find a $100 bill, or a long-lost uncle would pass away and leave us a bundle. And all my unconscious moments were spent dreaming of me flying down a hill in a blur of red and chrome, headlight cutting through the darkness, being the first 6-year-old to break the sound barrier on his bike. The leaves and dust swirling as if an 18-wheeler had passed. That's what I was doing that Christmas Eve at 11:30 p.m., dreaming while awake of someday, owning that bike. Well, or at least one like it. You see, the one that we saw in the store was not there when we happened by the Western Auto the week before Christmas. Fate. Some other little boy in town would be the lucky one to get that one. My only hope this year was the letter I'd written Santa Claus, and I was afraid that the hundreds of times I'd fought with my brother through the year had knocked me out of contention for something that incredible. And I was mentally kicking myself for not being a better brother and kid when all of a sudden, I really swear, I heard a thud or a thump or something, and it scared me. It sounded like it was coming from the roof. At that point, I didn't care if my brother was asleep. Jim! What? Did you hear that? Hear what? That noise, that thump, the noise that was on the roof. Oh, go to sleep, will you? You're hearing things. And just as he said that, we both heard it again. This time, it was louder, and you could hear a voice. It's a burglar, my brother said. It's not a burglar, it's Santa Claus. It's Santa Claus. He's here, and we're not asleep. He knows when you've been sleeping. He knows when you're awake. If we don't get to sleep, we're going to get switches or coal or nothing. Well, then get in bed and go to sleep, he said. Okay. So I covered my head and immediately did that fake sleeping routine, with the snore and everything. Something was stamping on the roof. And then I heard a sound that made me shoot up in bed and shout, sleigh bells. Did you hear them? Sleigh bells. I jumped out of bed and ran to the door, running in circles. What are you doing? My brother said. I don't know. I want to see Santa Claus. You can't. If he sees you, you'll never get anything ever again, ever. Boy, talk about being torn. Even if Santa brought the bike, I had never heard anyone ever getting the drop on him or catching him making this much noise on the roof on Christmas Eve. Why, I'd be the first kid to ever see Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. Is that better than the bike? I said in my mind. Well, maybe Dad'll get the bike next year. I gotta go. So leaving my brother whisper yelling at me, I ran down the hall, through the kitchen, and stood like a statue at the back door. The moment of truth. Okay, how am I going to do this? What do I say? I mean, do I sneak up? What do I do when he catches me? Go back to bed. Go back to bed while you still can. Okay, don't do this. Don't do this. Go back. Okay, no, he's going to leave in a second. Just run to the backyard like you were looking for something else, and when he catches you, tell him that you thought the dog was hurt. Hey, that sounds good. Okay, we're going. So I pulled up on the back door and made a hard left turn, running as fast as I could toward the corner of the house. And when I made that corner at full speed, ran right into the belt buckle of my dad. I bounced off of him and landed on my pride. Dad was standing there holding a ladder. I looked at him. He looked at me. What are you doing out here, son? I wanted to see Santa Claus, Daddy. I thought I heard him on the roof. What are you doing out here with that ladder? And without missing a beat, he said, well, son, I can't tell you a lie. I wanted to see Santa, too. I also heard him on the roof. Did you hear those sleigh bells? Yeah. Well? Well, what, son? Well, are we going to go? Well, now, it may mean you get switches the rest of your life. I don't care. I want to see Santa. No one's ever caught him before on Christmas Eve. But if you want to go, we'll go. And then that grand, exalted keeper of the spirit of Christmas lifted his 6-year-old son onto the first rung of a ladder on a quest as noble as that for the search of the Holy Grail, and followed those little feet to the top of the roof and watched as I tried best to stick just one eye over the top. Oh, that second before I could see the rooftop, my heart chugged like a freight train. Anticipation. And when I could see that Santa was not there. Well, we should have known better, son. He's just too quick. Yeah, but we almost did. Yeah, we did. Daddy, what's that? What's what? He said. That thing over there, that shiny thing. It's too dark to tell. Do you want to get up and go see? Yeah. And he helped me get to the roof and followed me. Daddy, what are these? What's this all over the roof in the snow? Why, son, I've never seen anything like it before, but they kind of look like hoof prints. So what was that shiny thing you saw over there? So I walked over to it and picked it up, held it in my hand. Daddy, it's a sleigh bell. It's a sleigh bell. It's Santa's sleigh bell. It fell off. He was really here. And you know, friend, at that one moment, that one point in time, on one snow-covered rooftop in Texas, there was one little boy that stood impervious to the cold in his footy pajamas and was possibly the only human this century filled with 100% untainted, pure belief. Belief. Now, to make a long story short, somehow Santa got that wonderful bike down the chimney and under the tree for me. But getting that bike was anticlimactic for me, for I would forever be changed and will forever believe in Santa Claus. I will forever be a charter member of the secret society of the Keepers of the Spirit. My dad symbolically handed me my membership card that night on a roof, Christmas Eve, 1966. And today there is one strange difference between my Christmas list and what many would consider to be a normal one. You see, at the top of my list, above all the Power Rangers and Barbie dolls, is a ladder. Do you have yours? Keep the faith. And remember, you keep the spirit by sharing it. God bless you, and Merry Christmas. I'm John Hart.